Alright guys, Supreme Kami here. So you guys already know we are going to be doing the Alteration review for the brand new Astraea Type F2 here. So in terms of this guy over here, this unit overall, um, I don't know, honestly. I would definitely say it's a little bit on the mixed bag side anyway in terms of this portrait. Stat wise, are definitely all over the place. You see some that are like, skyrocketing, and then you see some that are like all the way down in the roster. I'm just like, what is going on here? So I don't know. I just have like a hinge that this unit was supposed to be released. If let's say we had like a normal schedule, for example, I feel like this unit would have had release maybe somewhere around May timeline whatsoever. Just because take a look at all those stats right here is like, what is that like? We have something that's like way up here. I mean, like, kind of look at the overall digit. We are like only 400, 4,500 tops from the kind of like quote unquote the best part for torso, for example. Arm part, kind of doing all right, and then jumping into leg part, it's kind of like, what's going on here? And then yeah, it's so on and so forth. So obviously somewhere like good, somewhere bad, and all that. So kind of keep that in mind. This is going to be a 1/144 scale. So in terms of this one here, alteration is going to be a little bit off break, going to be really different from the big scale, just because how this one is. You're not going to be getting like a non-conditional 20% for subsiding whatsoever. So in terms of alterating it, it's simply because like, all right, you need it for the stats, you need it for a specific slash, let's say you need some with the leg part. Is it good? Does have a good portrait, etc. Right? So just look at the overall head part. Let's kind of take a look at this first. So kind of keep that in mind as well. This one is going to be a P attribute, and one important thing, because this one is completely new, there is not going to be any link attribute. So this one is a 7-star part. So let's say, I don't know, you want to access close combat because it's a melee build. I'm sorry, we're not going to get none of that because this one is a solo brand new unit. So no link attribute, no access to any alternative attributes. So kind of keep that in mind. If you're wondering like, how come I can't access some additional word tag, for example. So just kind of looking at the overall head part. Is this something worth altering, for example? I would definitely say this one is not necessarily alteration prioritized right here, just because the first portrait is already good. So if you guys pull this head, for example, it's pretty much good to use already because you are getting that EX skill boosting already. So first thing, we are looking at 25% and maxing things out at 40%. So this one on the spot is really good. So the extra terrain on top for alteration for this one is like, obviously you're gonna gain some stat, that's for sure. But in terms of the second, the portrait here, it's gonna be something all enemy cooldown up by 25%. Is this something that is relevant or something that is needed in like a general day-to-day gameplay, for example? I would definitely say not really. I think the only player base that is able to use this is anyone that is within, let's say, the top roster for arena specifically. So let's say you want to be in the podium spot for arena, you want to troll people, you want to make them suffer, right? You want to make them have the cooldown up by 25%. So normally I say, oh, 100% cooldown is good, but if you see some of these types of portrait, good luck. You're gonna need 125%. So unless you're like a top podium player for arena every week consistently, then you would 100% alterate it. But if you're just like a casual player, you don't really care about arena, right? So basically PvP, you definitely need it. But in terms of PvE, I say this is pointless in alterating it. So this one definitely skip for alteration. So you'll definitely lose out on a substantial amount of stat. I would have to say just a little bit, but overall it is still a positive one to be looking at. Just a straight up 40%, overall pretty good. Just take a look at the overall parameters. Some pretty good armor base right there. In terms of the melee base, is not anything impressive. Shot is like kind of meh. Like I try to compare this one to any shot build specifically, but no luck. Just look at those word tag, you can't compare that up to any shot build anyway. So in terms of the head part, I would definitely say give it a no go for alteration. All right, moving over to the torso, and let's see what we're packing. All right, jumping into torso. In terms of torso, you guys can see that we are way down here. So this is like what, how many places at 12 place in a way. So we have roughly about 30 part. I pretty much have like 30 parts around here, so a little bit bigger for you guys to see. Okay, so Yeah, this one you can say is kind of like bad in a way because we have all these, all these. Some of them does have link attribute, like a few of them does not, honestly. But you guys can see that in terms of the overall roster, we just have good stuff, right? If you guys are able to put anything that has a good portrait, obviously, if it's any good portrait, definitely alterate it. So this one simply does come up with EXQ innately. So if you just strictly talk about EXQ, I don't think it's anything that's worth mentioning for alteration because it should hit. I would definitely say it hits hard enough for example, like A minus power alteration, but I don't have it on me right now, but I'm pretty sure it should be B plus prior to alteration. So B plus A minus, you're not missing out like a humongous chunks of damage overall. So for this one specifically, it is good. It depends on what you need. If you need a good torso, for example, that meets your kind of like expectation. I need something for repeat attribute. I need something for protect and high firepower. And go ahead, alter this one. Something that I'm just trying to see if there's anything that you can kind of pair this one up over here. Just because protect and high firepower is a pretty common combo. So I'm just trying to spot if there's any good, like 100% subside, you gain some good stuff. So not really, I will have to say. We do have a lot of protect, high firepower, but not anything that is a big scale oriented in a way. Like this one is a big scale, but in terms of the war tag, you're still getting protect with her. So you still at least pair that up with a big scale. You're still getting like at least a 30.5% supply bonuses. But I'm talking about if you get a double vortex, like let's say these two compare, right? These two are right out the spot getting 20%. This one is not a big scale, so at tops you're only getting a 20.5%. So in terms of subside wise, it's not that strong. Like this is like close combat, for example, and then we kind of talking. But I believe the overall Astraea is kind of like a well balanced unit, so wouldn't really have close combat in a way, I guess. So EXQ just gonna be the NGN bazooka and what is it, the GN launcher. I believe people are saying, I think this is exactly the same one as the standard F type. So in terms of what I heard from people, this EXQ, I believe it scales a little bit off from, let's say, melee as well in terms of the overall damage. I think I could be wrong because I don't have it. So yeah, kind of something to just kind of know as well, I guess, in a way. But the overall stat is definitely pretty high. Top things off, we do have some pretty high armor, like 10k. That's obviously pretty good. Overall offensive stat and defensive stat, they're both balanced out. But if you want to put this onto a shot build, I think you can definitely push it that way, because you do have, let's say, high firepower. But I'm definitely not going to be recommending that, just because from what I see people build, if they do any subslot or having this on subslot, usually what they have, they don't have any portrait. So at the end of the day, you're just not gonna do any damage at all because no portrait, no power. So yeah, but torso wise, not really worth trading in a way, I guess. It depends, but this one, since it is on an EXQ slot, so I don't think it's worth mentioning. All right, moving over to the armor. Let's see what we have. Armor wise, just kind of examine the raw stat parameter. In terms of the armor wise, yeah, it's kind of satisfaction, I guess, in a way. Melee attack is decent enough. You guys can see that is somewhat within the top podium, I would have to say. Since this one is a little bit on the mixed bag with this one not big scale. So in terms of what you can actually do, are there any good pro tag high mobility subslot option here? I don't think so, right? So in terms of getting good subslot, you can definitely do pro tag. We can even do this one pure destiny, but both of them don't have portrait, so I will definitely not suggest that option. I guess there's not even a good good subslot for this one, unfortunately. Okay, yeah, this one is pretty unfortunate. So is it worth alternating this one? I don't have this one as well, so I'm just gonna go check. Like for my curiosity, I just want to see what damage they are prior to alteration. So this one starts out at B power, so obviously you don't need the alteration. This one's starting things out at B minus power, B minus, B minus. So I think, just looking at B minus solely, I think you are definitely doing a substantial amount of damage where alterating it does not really matter as much anymore. So yeah, what are we looking at? Yeah, you're you're not losing that much in a sense. So I don't think this one is worth altering as well. It's just the fact that this one sucks. This one is supposedly a melee build, so the arm part is the most important part. And yeah, we are stuck with an actual EXQ. So yeah, with that said, I just don't think this one is worth altering either, unless you guys really don't have any option in a way. So I would still urge you guys to at least, if you are using this one for example, try to get some good portrait as a main slot or a sub slot. But other than that, good war tag as well, a protect mobility. Same goes for the other three that we have looked at, so the other two that we have looked at so far. So yeah, so this one probably a no-go for alteration as well. So moving over to the leg, just look at this one. I guess even before you even talk about the leg, I should mention way up, like way in front of the video. Is it even worth summoning? I would definitely say not really in a way, just because we are looking at a roster of 10 parts to be pulled. So if you do want to specifically target a backpack, for example, just because, oh, we have a new EXQ, so I truly do want that, the chances of actually pulling it, I'm not gonna say it's bad. It hugely depends on you. I lucked out. I did 4 multi-summon. I got pretty much everything on the roster. I got like, I'm only missing pretty much 5 parts. Like I got the back part, which is a huge plus, new EX skill. Who doesn't want that? So at the end of the day, it purely it depends on what kind of hardships management you guys are looking at. If you guys do have good chunks going on, kind of go for it. But if you get shafted, I mean, like, I don't know what to tell you guys, because we are looking at 10 parts, and the rate are still going to be 5% on every slot, and then what, 16% on that one particular spot. So you're not looking too good in terms of overall percentage, though. Just kind of like a heads up, I guess, in a way. So all right, jumping back to the leg, let's kind of examine over the stats. I would definitely say, like, from the leg downwards, I would definitely say the amount of shot attacks supposedly in like from these 3 parts up here does have some pretty good supposedly shot attack whatsoever. But once you get down to the leg portion, all the way down to like the shoe, the ranged weapon 3 stuff, like it's not getting that hot. So and this one is actually a brand new EXQ. We have a GM pistol. Is this one worth altering it? I do actually have it, so I can just kind of see what's going on. I have 2. This one, I would say this one kind of a yeah, kind of like a hesitant yeah. Because in terms of the power increase, you are getting up to a B minus, so a B plus, so you are definitely going to be hitting a little bit harder compared to C power. That's obviously a given. If you simply using this one for like a combo purposes, for example, I would definitely say no, you do not need it. If you purely speaking on the fact that, oh, you need a good leg part, for example, I would definitely say no, this one is not a good one at all, just because we do have Gundam type. So in terms of actually getting a good subside, you do have Pro Tag. Pro Tag is definitely a good filler in already, but just the fact that you do have Gundam time, that's like, come on, man. Like we have so much option nowadays. I don't think this part is enough to say, oh, go archery. So yeah, overall style wise, 9k, 6k for the base melee, 7k for the defensive aspect of it. It's not too bad, but definitely the shot department definitely took a big dip. Barely not even making it up to the 6k for shot attack and 5k for melee or shot defense. So it's definitely not holding up to the other 3 earlier parts. So for me personally, I will not alter this one in a way, unless you truly need it. So but yeah, other than that, leg part definitely a no-go as well. Alright, last but not least, in terms of the main parts of it, yes, backpack 100% of the time, go for it. Because prior to alteration, obviously with any custom EXQ, we are still going to be looking at an A power, right? Yeah, A power, yep, A plus. Okay, we love that. After alteration, I believe you're literally jumping up to like an SS. No, it's still an S plus. So yeah, so that's one. In terms of the EXQ power modification, we are able to go up to SS minus, so that is definitely some omega low power output right there. So this one definitely worth altering it, just because of the sheer amount of power output you can get from this one. In terms of the effects, so there's still the same thing up here. You're not really getting any increase in terms of if you do talk about the value of the effects, you are pretty much not getting anything increased except for the shot attack. So that you can kind of argue like, since I'm not really getting anything out of it in terms of, let's say, additional percentage, the only thing you're getting is a 10% up from your shot attack, because prior to alteration we are looking at a double, like in terms of those both melee and shot, they're both equally 29%. So after alteration, shot got like a 10% higher, so that's cool. But in terms of, let's say, what your reload speed, your ranged weapon reload speed boosted by a 53%, that is not getting an increase. And kind of keep that in mind, this is, you know, on a melee build, so having that effects does not necessarily benefit you all that much. So this one you can definitely argue like it's not good for alteration, just because in terms of the benefit, you know, like how much am I gaining out of that? You're not really getting that much. I think the highest, or like the most prior, like the critical, like the crucial part is you just getting a good amount of, you know, power output. So that's pretty much it. Let's kind of examine the overall stats. I'll definitely say the armor is kind of up there. It's obviously not the top podium for like the highest armor pieces over there, but in terms of, let's say, the overall base melee and then melee defense, definitely not too bad, honestly, because we are within the top 4 of the podium, so that's actually quite good. So not bad overall, but in terms of kind of looking over at the shot department, it's actually not too shabby at all. But in terms of the shot defense, kind of not really compensating on that much. So yeah, this is purely going to be a for melee for sure. So up next, we are going to be talking about the shoe. So that's kind of like a weird fitment for the shoe. So like my first impression, look at the shoe, I was like, who made the shoe? Like who designed the overall parameter? Like look at that. Have you ever seen a shoe that is that spread out? Obviously this is going to be a melee based shoe over here, but my gosh, like I have never seen anything like this before. Like I would even argue, like I would kind of, on a very slim chance, even toss this into my shooting build, because you do have Gundam type. So whoa, wow, okay. So definitely this is like, I guess you can go for like a dual type build with this one. Like you can kind of put this into your shooting build, but I would definitely not recommend it. It just, in terms of the base for shot, is a little bit too low, and that defensive is definitely lowballing it. So this one, in terms of the overall base melee attack, it is definitely high. So but it is still not going to be higher than the other ones that we have seen. I think the highest one so far, we are looking at the Starbuck Strike, the new attribute, and then the, what is it, the Destiny, the new Destiny that came out last week. So overall, definitely very satisfied with the overall parameter. Good, you know, armor pieces are there. Melee attack is definitely good. Defensive, obviously, it's going to be losing out to the Destiny, of course. Destiny is big scale and just better portrait overall. But and this is what this one is doing. This one is going to be doing an all power reduce, so it's very similar to how we look at it from last week with Destiny. But this one doesn't really have that much of a niche condition. I believe the Destiny, like you guys see it right now, have a high mobility restriction, while this one only have a HP restriction, which I think is definitely a lot more easier to satisfy. In terms of the secondary portrait, this one, you know, so this one literally gives you like, oh, like red flash melee build, because it wants you to be using an L-Fighter job lessons at all time. Then you can get a all power boosting by 35%. So in terms of the secondary portrait compared to the Destiny, obviously a little bit worse. You know, buff trade, all power, definitely taking buff trade 24/7. So no question asked. But overall, in terms of shield, I'm definitely confident this one is a very good option for your Alteration. Just because of the stat we are looking at presented here, it's actually quite, you know, it's actually not too bad overall. So I think the shield for stat wise, I think I can kind of go with that in a way. You know, all right, so let's kind of move over to some of the weapons now. Alright, so going over to the first melee weapon, we have the Proto GN Swords. In terms of this one, definitely dropping a major, you know, bump over here. I would definitely have to say, stat wise on this one is definitely not impressive whatsoever. Just look at this one over here, like, yeah, if you guys do every Proto GN, the Proto GN, I was about to say shield again, but GN Proto Sword, I'm just gonna say this one is pretty much not going to be worthwhile for your investment in a way. We can kind of take a look at the portrait. So we have a double cut, so literally a copy and paste with an extra 5% tack on there. So this one is gonna be like a new iteration of those power boosting. So this one essentially, if your enemy has any power reduction, so simply if your enemy has power reduction, that means you're not gonna be doing good damage to them. So if you have this part right here, you can literally cut 35%. Let's say if they have up to a 70 or 80 or 100% melee power reduction on you, then you can pretty much take you have 65% here, so you can pretty much take all that from them, and you can kind of do more damage to them in a way. So overall, I really wouldn't pay too much attention to these in a way, because we just like right now we just have pretty much good portrait going on, right? We have something that's 40% trade. We have something that's even like these right here, right? Like all power like 50% for example. So it's just honestly nowadays we just have too many good options where I feel like this one is only good for the cosmetic purposes. It's not really good as say like part that I really want to kind of invest into anyway. So but I think in terms of the plus side of this one is being a beam or not beam. This one is a saver category, so in terms of just working out your subside, what you need to do is actually not too terrible because it does have some pretty good tag combo, pro tech and high mobility. So that's in terms of the tag department and the actual melee weapon, you know, category. That's definitely a plus. But in terms of overall stat, you know, this portrait is just like, come on, man. We just have too much good options that I feel like, you know, this one is simply just gonna be a first skin for the cosmetic purposes, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, definitely not really worth the alteration as well. Alright, so moving over to the G and hammer. So this one is going to be a whip category. So this one is actually not bad. I would definitely have to say, giving some love to the axe, or not the axe, the whip category. But you guys can see that in terms of whip category, I would definitely say we don't have any good representation. So if you ever find yourself in a spot like, oh, I want to use the GN hammer as my actual melee weapon, you're gonna find that if you don't put a second copy, or if you don't have any good whip going on, I would definitely say hugely hurting. So you guys can see that we only have 6, and I would say like I would not even want to subside anything to these. So but hey, look, we do have a big scale, so that is definitely going to be a saving grace right there. But it's just the overall war tag is not going to be that fitting overall. What is exclusive and the Federation, but I mean, like, at least you can still get a 20.5% out of this one, so it's still something. But overall, in terms of just the whip category, we just need more. So that really does hurt in terms of what this, you know, GN hammer is trying to do for us over here. So let's see. In terms of this one, overall stat is literally gonna be the same thing, but in terms of the portrait, this is where it's gonna get a little bit interesting here. So this one is gonna be in terms of bulk condition. This is when attacking with physical, and you guys can notice that in terms of the first portrait, it's a squad all power boost. So in a sense, I would definitely say this one is a very poorly designed in a way. Like whenever they do these kind of like a specific weapon tweak, like in terms of like the physical beam whatsoever, yeah, that's always gonna be a huge problem, because like there's just gonna be a time where you want to run beam as well. So I don't know, but honestly, this one is still a decent one if you do want to give your allies some, you know, some additional power boosting, because this one is a squad, so that's actually not bad. And this one does have a NB cut, so this one in translation is going to be another 40% boosting nonetheless. So overall, if you do take away of the condition, this is definitely, I would definitely say, a very good one to even alterate. But just with the condition going on right now, I'm just like, do I really want to alterate it, or is it even a good option in a way? Just because you are locking down to only using physical, so EX skill has to be physical. So let's say you're using Rolling Buster, for example. I'm sorry, you're just not gonna gain that 35%. So pretty unfortunate overall. But if you're strictly running physical EX game, all right, that's gonna be the one for you. So if we do take a look at, let's say, the actual range weapon, starting with the range weapon, the range weapon in terms of the stat is definitely a little bit higher, definitely a better looking one than, let's say, the melee aspect of it. So in terms of the, you know, the overall shot attack on this range weapon here, it's actually not too bad with the melee aspect of it. It's actually quite good, so that's definitely good to see. This one is literally the opposite of what we just saw from that GN hammer, so I'm just like what were they planning here? Like, what? Doing a straight condition on both like that. So this one is definitely going to be the same case with that one. The alteration with this one is definitely phenomenal if we take away the condition. And all power boosting for 40%, who doesn't want that, right? But this one, you are strictly running 100% beam. Anything that's producing beam, then you're good. If you're producing physical, then I'm sorry, this is going to be a purely a wasted portrait. So that's kind of unfortunate. I don't even know if I want to call this good. Because these two are like quote like supposedly the 40% trade parts in here, but in terms of the activation, it's like 50 per bow. I'm just like, ooh, that's rough. So in terms of this one, I can't really give a like, oh, a must alterate, just because in terms of like the overall effectiveness or even running this, like the like how many times are you going to be able to activate these, is very questionable. So yeah, kind of unfortunate in a way. So but last but not least, we do have the NGM bazooka here. So this one is even worth altering, for example. So probably not. This one, why not, for example, because we have these EXQ CUDA reducer there. So simply, I really don't like recommending these right here, just because in terms of getting these up and running to be effective, to be 100%, it's gonna spend so much more resources. So that's why I feel like it's not really that worth it anyway. So and then in terms of the overall war type, pro tech, and the Gundam type, so obviously not gonna be your best fitment whatsoever in terms of war type wise over here. But yeah, other than that, in terms of the overall Astraea F type or type F2, I would definitely not give it that good of a recommendation for summoning. First of all, these have too many parts to pull for. That's definitely not a must not summon for it. And two, just looking at the overall EXQ, we just packing, right, jam packing for EXQs. So in terms of taking away the ability to say, oh, they agree for alteration, but in terms of the parts that have portrait, I don't think they're anything to satisfaction compared to what we've seen, I guess, anyway. But yeah, other than that, in terms of this one, definitely a major skip. If you guys are trying to save up for the anniversary, I would definitely say this is just going to be that one up chance that we have like completely brand new unit. So but yeah, other than that, I would definitely say no for summoning for this one, and then pretty much a lot of part is definitely a no for alteration as well. But with that said, I will catch you guys on the next one.